I was so afraid of the United States as a country. The journey from Korea to America was terrifying for me. Would you like to hear the shocking story of my experience at an American university? Jimin Park clutched her passport tightly as she stepped off the plane at LAX. A 21-year-old literature major from Seoul National University. She had always been top of her class back home. Her parents had beamed with pride when she was selected for the exchange program. But Jimin had accepted with mixed feelings. Americans only care about themselves, her cousin had warned. After returning from a business trip to New York, they smile to your face, but laugh at your accent behind your back. These words echoed in Jimin's mind as she navigated through the crowded terminal, struggling with her oversized luggage. On her first day at the sprawling Los Angeles campus, Jimin felt her stomach knot with anxiety. The buildings seemed impossibly large, the crowds overwhelming. In her first lecture, a cultural studies professor singled her out. "We're so pleased to have you join us from South Korea, Jimin." The entire class turned to look at her, and several students smiled broadly. Jimin shrank in her seat, convinced their friendliness was mere performance. "Why are they staring? Do they think I don't belong here?" she thought, misinterpreting their curious glances as judgment. During group discussions, Jimin remained silent. Her carefully practiced English phrases stuck in her throat. When she finally spoke, stumbling over pronunciation, two students in the back row exchanged glances and laughed, though they were reacting to something on a phone. Jimin was certain they were mocking her. At lunch, she sat alone, watching American students loudly debating politics and pop culture. So self-centered, she thought. Just like I expected. When a teaching assistant offered to help her register for classes, Jimin nodded politely, but later texted her friend in Korea, "Everyone's fakeness here. It's exhausting." That night in her dorm room, Jimin video called her parents, telling them everything was fine while fighting back tears. As she unpacked her suitcase, carefully arranging family photos on her desk, she wondered if coming to America had been a terrible mistake. What she couldn't yet see was how these same, unfamiliar faces would soon challenge everything she thought she knew about Americans, and ultimately, about herself. Professor Martinez announced the semester project would be completed in groups of 4. Jimin's heart sank as she was assigned to work with 3 American students, including a tall, confident junior named Alex Wilson. During their first meeting at the library, Alex seemed to take charge immediately. "So Jimin," he said, looking directly at her, "do you want to handle the research or presentation?" "I can do research," she replied carefully. "Great. Just make sure you're thorough with the citations," Alex responded. When Jimin mispronounced methodology, he quickly corrected her. "It's methodology," he emphasized, then continued speaking. The third time Alex corrected her English, Jimin felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "Sorry for my bad English," she mumbled. No, I'm just trying to help," Alex insisted. "You'll sound more professional during our presentation." On her way back to the dorm, Jimin texted her Korean friend Sujin, "I knew it. Americans think Asians are stupid. This guy Alex keeps correcting my English like I'm a child." Over the next week, Jimin avoided group meetings whenever possible, sending her contributions via email instead. When forced to attend, she spoke minimally, avoiding eye contact with Alex. During lunch periods, she sought out other Korean exchange students, finding comfort in familiar language and shared experiences. "You should switch groups," suggested Sojin, but Jimin shook her head. She would endure this project. But she'd learned her lesson about working with American. Presentation day arrived faster than Jimin had anticipated. Standing outside the classroom, she frantically reviewed her notecards. Her palms sweaty against the laminated paper. Alex and their other teammates huddled nearby, going through last-minute preparations. "You ready?" Alex asked, glancing over at Jimin. "Yes," she lied, avoiding his gaze. When Professor Martinez called their group, Jimin followed her teammates to the front of the lecture hall. The room seemed suddenly massive, filled with what felt like 1,000 judging eyes. Alex began the introduction confidently, then turned to Jimin for the next section. Jimin cleared her throat and began her carefully rehearsed segment on comparative cultural attitudes. Halfway through her second slide, her mind went blank. The carefully memorized English phrases evaporated, leaving her staring helplessly at her notes. The data suggests that. She started, then froze. The silence stretched painfully. A few students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Just as panic threatened to overwhelm her, she felt a light touch on her elbow. Alex had stepped closer. "Take your time. You're doing great," he whispered, just loud enough for her to hear. His smile seemed genuine, not mocking. The simple encouragement unlocked something in Jimin. She took a deep breath, found her place in her notes, and continued. Though she stumbled occasionally, she completed her portion of the presentation. After class, as Jimin packed her bag quickly, planning to escape to her dorm, Alex appeared beside her desk. "That was seriously impressive," he said. "Want to grab coffee? The campus cafe just got some new seasonal drinks." Jimin hesitated, suspicion warring with curiosity. Against her better judgment, she nodded. At the cafe, Alex continued, "You know, your first semester in a different country. Presenting in a second language that takes serious guts. I studied abroad in Spain last year and could barely order dinner after 3 months there." "Really?" Jimin asked, surprised by his admission. "Oh yeah, I was a disaster," he laughed. "That's actually why I've been helping with your English. I know how it feels when you want to say something intelligent, but can't find the words." As they sipped their coffees, Jimin felt something shift in her perception. Perhaps, she thought for the first time, she had judged Alex too quickly. Perhaps he wasn't so bad after all. 2 weeks after their coffee meetup, Alex invited Jimin to a weekend house party. "The whole project team will be there," he assured her. "It'll be fun." Against her better judgment, Jimin agreed. She'd started to enjoy their group study session and was cautiously warming to Alex's straightforward personality. Maybe Americans weren't all as superficial as she'd initially believed. The party was crowded, with students, music pulsing through the packed living room. Jimin recognized a few classmates who greeted her warmly. For the first time since arriving in America, she felt almost comfortable. Then she overheard a conversation from the kitchen. A group of students she didn't know were laughing loudly. "So then I was like, 안녕하세요, and the waiter just stared at me," a tall guy in a basketball jersey said, attempting a poor imitation of Korean. "I mean, don't they all speak Korean in those restaurants?" Another student chimed in, mimicking exaggerated bowing motions. "My Korean roommate says they're super obsessed with politeness. Like, there's literally different words depending on how important you are." The group erupted in laughter, unaware of Jimin standing frozen in the doorway. Her face burned with humiliation and anger. Spotting Alex among them, not laughing, but not stopping them either, confirmed her worst suspicion. "Is this what you think of us?" she demanded, her voice cutting through their laughter. "This is why you invited me? So your friends could make fun of my culture?"
Alex's face fell.
"Jimin, they're just joking around." "You're all the same," she said, fighting back tears. "To you, we're just stereotypes to laugh at. Not real people." She turned and pushed through the crowd toward the exit. "Jimin, wait!" Alex called after her, but she was already gone. The next morning, a knock on her dorm room door woke her. Alex stood in the hallway, holding 2 cups of coffee and looking thoroughly ashamed. "I came to apologize," he said quietly. "You were right to be angry. What they said was ignorant and disrespectful." "It's fine," Jimin replied stiffly. "I shouldn't have expected anything different." "No," Alex insisted. "It's not fine. I should have said something instead of standing there. The truth is, we don't know much about your culture. But that's not an excuse for mockery. I want to learn from you if you're willing to teach me." The sincerity in his voice caught Jimin off guard. For the first time since arriving in America, she wondered if real understanding might be possible after all. Midterms week hit campus like a storm. Jimin had been pulling all-nighters, her immune system finally surrendering to a brutal cold. Confined to her dorm room, she messaged her group that she couldn't make their study session. With a fever of 101, every movement required tremendous effort. Her roommate had gone home for the weekend, leaving Jimin alone with her misery. In Korea, her mother would have made healing jo and hovered nearby with cool compresses. Here, an ocean away, Jimin had never felt so isolated. She drifted in and out of restless sleep, homesickness, more painful than her fever. A persistent knocking woke her late Sunday afternoon. Wrapped in her blanket, Jimin shuffled to the door, expecting her RA with the cold medicine she'd requested. Instead, Alex stood there with Megan and David from their project group. They carried several containers and a small pot. "We heard you were sick," Alex said, his expression concerned. "Can we come in?" Too surprised to object, Jimin nodded. "We tried to make samgyetang," Megan explained, setting down containers. Alex researched Korean remedies for colds. It's probably not authentically used regular chicken and rice, but added ginseng and dates from the Asian market. "And we attempted kimchi," David added, looking doubtful. "Fair warning, it's definitely not like your grandmother's. We thought you might be lonely and missing home food," Alex explained simply. "Being sick away from family is the worst." Jimin stared at their earnest faces, at the imperfect but heartfelt offerings. Something shifted inside her, like ice breaking in spring. For months, she had clung to her prejudices like armor, convinced they were protecting her. But now she saw how these walls had actually imprisoned her, keeping out potential friendships and connections. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "This means a lot." As they shared the makeshift Korean meal, Jimin realized it wasn't just her fever breaking, but the barriers she had built around her heart. On the final day of the semester, Jimin stood confidently at the podium alongside her teammates. Their presentation on cross-cultural communication had earned them the highest grade in the class. As Professor Martinez congratulated them, Jimin stepped forward unexpectedly. "If I may," she said, "I'd like to add something personal." The room quieted. "When I first came to America, I believed this country was cold and selfish. I came with walls built around my heart." Her voice trembled slightly. but because of these three people and many others. I've learned that America is full of warmth and kindness I never expected to find. Alex and her teammates smiled encouragingly as she continued. I never imagined that admitting I was wrong could bring such happiness, Jimin said, wiping away a tear. Thank you for teaching me that understanding begins when assumptions end. As applause filled the room, Jimin knew that her exchange year had given her something far more valuable than academic credits. In learning to see beyond her prejudices, she had discovered both a new country and a new version of her cell phone brave enough to build bridges instead of walls. What did you think about this story of a Korean student's changing perception of America? I hope that one day more international people will come to feel the warmth and kindness of America. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like.